had a lot of debris that came in. We were in the areas, they did some of the aerial shots of heavy debris when the water was higher. And you could almost literally, it looked like you could walk on the water. There was that much debris. So when the water sat down, the wind had been coming from the north to the south, and it pushed a lot into our shoreline, as it did other people's too, onto their shorelines. And we had not only natural debris, but we had a jacuzzi, a refrigerator, we had propane tanks, air compressors, barbed wire fencing. It was sad because you knew upstream the devastation that occurred, and again, my heart goes out to the people that encountered so much of it. But when it sat down, we literally had a dangerous shoreline, dangerous to walk. And that's because there were so many things on it. And that's when it was helpful to hear that TVA and all of these government agencies had partnered together, because I think to actually try to do the work as an individual, family, household, would have been not possible.
Behind me here, you'll see our DMS loadout facility, where we're going to be loading out debris, hauling it to a landfill. This is kind of the final phase or stage of our operation. The last 4 months we've been focused on gathering debris and household waste and hauling household waste off to our landfills and burning all the debris we can on the shoreline. But now as our water levels rise, we're having to take that material here to our DMS loadout location and haul the remaining amount of debris to the landfill. So to date, we're around 77,000 cubic yards of debris hauled out, roughly 70% complete. We're anticipating around 100,000 cubic yards of debris total. So about 75% of that debris was able to be consolidated on site, minimizing impact to the public roadways and our landfill storage, which is really important to us. And now we'll focus on the remaining part of the debris, which becomes a bigger challenge from a safety operations for us on the ground, where we're starting to scale these steep rock cliffs and banks and gather that debris as the water levels rise. We'll be working with our River Forecast Center to manage that operation as we continue to get to our normal summer pool elevation. And so through that process, you will see our operations shift a little bit from total land-based operations, bringing our material on the shorelines, to actually gathering debris and materials on the water as we scale that debris off the shorelines as well. So there'll be two operations going on. We really want to reiterate public safety, the safety of our workforce, the safety of the public out here as we continue to gather all this debris from the water. So the lake's open for business. We're here and it's really good to enjoy, but we want you to be diligent of the operation still going on. We still have work to do out here. We've gathered a lot of debris so far, but there is debris out here on the lake. You'll see floating branches and trees, not inconsistent with what you'd see on any reservoir, but we heighten that awareness while this operation's going on. We're focused on the safety of the public, the safety of our workforce. We're, as TVA supporting this mission, it's critical. It's in our backyard. This is in our service area. We're a part of the community here. We're going to make this lake complete, better than it ever was, and really nice for the community as we finish this project.
They're coming in conjunction with our vegetation collection crews, collecting trash, tires, any kind of waste, white goods, things that would be taken back to our sorting area, sorted out appropriately as the waste streams would go, then transported to the landfills or its appropriate designation. Vegetation crews here, currently waiting on a material barge to come back so he can continue loading. But these two operations work hand in hand around the lake as they hopscotch each other and work their way around the shoreline to collect debris as well as trash.
So we have crews that actually go out ahead of our operations and communicate with the public. So we call them door knockers. They go door to door communicating with each individual saying, hey, we're going to be in your area next week. We're going to be working around. We actually do walk downs with the community, looking at their area, looking at their dock, making sure that we're not impacting any further damage than what might have come from Helene. And so we take before and after pictures. We work with the public. So really a lot of our mission is in the public communications key. So we'll continue to do that effort to ensure public safety as we move forward.
They're boots on the ground. They're walking over logs, big around. They're trailing through scaling the slopes, dealing with the rocks, the terrain, the mud, the conditions, right? Snow, rain, wind, all of that happens out here on a weekly basis. So these guys are going through, they're traversing over that stuff very carefully, paying attention to where they place their feet and hands. Got all the proper PPE to keep them safe as they assist us in this operation.
We're about 150 tons of ash that's been hauled out so far, approximately that much to go. So like I said, we've burned just around 77,000 cubic yards of debris on site, consolidated that down to around 300 cubic yards of ash.
Right now we're projecting a June finish with clearing all these shorelines, going around. Like I say, the multi-round operation, utilizing the spring refill of the reservoir to our advantage as we collect these debris and household waste as it is higher on the steeper slope banks.
We've had 2 large tournaments already. We've communicated the public safety aspect to them in advance. We've let them know where we're working, so great coordination with the local marinas and the people hosting those events. So we're involved in that through our project management group, doing great communication, and they went off well with no issues.
So, when we got here, we developed a plan to utilize the natural refill of this reservoir, the planned refill of this reservoir into our hand to allow access to these areas. You look at this slope here and it's all flat ground that we could get skid steers and land-based equipment on and go really gather all the debris and get to it. We'll get over here in a minute and you'll see some of the rock bluffs, steeper slopes that we don't have access to put equipment on and traverse up and down it. So our plan was to utilize that water level as it comes up to take our long reach grappled equipment and reach over it and collect that material. That being said, there's over 390 miles of shoreline out here. We do have 11 crews scavenging the lake working on these operations, but we've not been able to get every piece of floating debris, and so the second phase of our operation was really to deploy some water-based collection, and we'll see some of that here shortly. That will go around as this water kind of gets ahead of us and starts to refloat some of this material, and we'll collect it with those operations. You'll see, strategically we'll place debris booms and things in coves, maybe set some traps along the shorelines of the reservoir out here in conjunction with our collection crews that'll capture it from the water. It's pretty isolated right now to a lot of where the majority of the work is, as well as our crews that are collecting that, and so we'll continue to work on that and capture it from a water-based operation as we move forward as a transition out of the land-based operation. The dangers would be, high speed out through here, obviously at low speeds it just kind of bounces off and you can see it and know what's there. The dangers would be the sunken hazards right below the water lines or right at the water line that you're going through, could cause damage to boats, skiers, inner tubers, things like that, if they were to strike some of that debris and not realize where it's at or be able to see it in time to avoid it. What we're seeing right now would be pretty standard for typical operations out here, right? These reservoirs see a lot of influx of material in the spring raises naturally. So we are seeing that. We're going around, we're collecting the larger stuff. We've got plans to get the smaller stuff gathered up as we go forward. When we got here and sat down with all of the agencies assisting in this operation, TEMA, FEMA, the State Department's local government agencies, as well as TVA and our construction partners, we developed a plan to target, local marinas, business owners, things like that would be impacted from this as it was to press on. So that was a priority for us to make sure that there was no impact to the local community as we stage this recovery efforts and cleanup throughout the winter months and into the spring and ultimately into the beginning of the summer operations. So strategically we looked at local marina impacts, commerce, things like that, And then we took a look around the lake and said, okay, where's the most dense areas? Where do we need to put our focus on to get the most out of here in a timely manner, where we had the water down throughout the winter months and could get there and get the vast majority of it out. Strategically, that was the plan.
TVA provides what's called an operating guide. And so the operating guide is actually on their website, and it's very valuable to us residents because it provides an opportunity to see where is the lake level now and what is the expected increase or decrease in the lake level over the upcoming next several days. And so when TVA mentioned that they were going to work with the normal operating guide, when the hurricane came in, we were in the mid 950 range height-wise, and interestingly, the lake went up 23 feet in a little over a day and a half to 2 days. That's a lot. Then they started to bring the lake level down, and as they brought it down, a lot of the debris that was floating then sat down on the shorelines. And so when they were mentioning prioritizing where to go and things such as that, they started their cleanup effort when probably the lake level was in the 960 range, give or take. And what's been occurring now is the normal rise in the lake level. So we see the lake level, we're currently at the 970, coming up on 971 range. It'll go up to about 993, 994, which is full pool. That means each day the lake is going up right now about 3 to 4 tenths of a foot a day. So that would be 3 to 4 inches a day, and they're factoring that in when they do their cleanup. Now, how might that impact residents? And I have to just say hats off to TVA. Our particular situation, we were able to contact them. We're in a little bit of a lower flat area. Actually, we start to get water at about 960. And so when we made them aware of it, they knew they could come in and do a land-based operation to do cleanup and get that debris before the lake came up to its current level at the 970.
Well, I just think, this mission is not typically what something TVA does. Our mission of service is to serve the people of the valley, and we were asked to support this. We stepped up to the challenge, worked with a lot of great people and other organizations and government agencies to make it happen.